Welcome, good afternoon, thanks for coming out. I know it's everybody's busy, there's a million other places you could have been today, but I appreciate the fact that you chose to be here today, and I promise that I will make it worth your while. If not, just we'll refund your sandwich and you can go on your way. Well, with that being said, we have a jam-packed presentation. For any of you who have ever been to any of my presentations, you know that it's very little fluff. It's very little BS. It's all jam-packed information and content that you can use in your business, in your life. So we did provide some handouts, so please make good use. You know, my goal for you today is that you walk out of here with at least 3 things that you can apply in your business. And most importantly is, you know, information used to be power. We always used to say that knowledge was power, information was power. It still is, but only if you take action. And so what I hope will happen today is that you take a lot of notes, and from all the notes that you take, you pick up at least 2 to 3 things, and you take massive action on those things and apply it. Then you can come back to me, send me an email, call me, let me know what difference that made for you. All right? So with that being said, I know typically I walk around and I'm a little bit more loose, but they asked if I kind of stand still, so I'm going to be a little stiff today because they're recording. And with that being said, so welcome to 6 Keys to a Winning Team. We called it Hire Slow, Fire Fast. How many of you like that title, by the way? Why do we say hire slow and fire fast? What do most people do? The opposite, right? They hire like they are in desperate need, so they get the first living body, which is usually a friend or family member. Big mistake, mistake number 1, right? And then they bring on somebody right away, they throw them into the job, and then they realize that person's not working out, and it takes them forever and ever to do anything about it. So we thought that the title was very relative to what we're talking about here today. All right, so a little bit about me. Grew up in Orlando, Florida. I was born in Bogota, Colombia. So actually English was not my first language. I picked up on it, still getting better. I speak Portuguese as well. And but I grew up in Orlando. And in Orlando, there's not much to do unless you decide to work at a theme park, a restaurant, or a hotel. And luckily, my dad was in the hotel business, so at the age of 18, he said, hey, do you want to come and work at the front desk? And I said, yeah, okay, I'll work at the front desk, but only for a year, because I want to go fly airplanes, I want to go be a fighter pilot and all this stuff, right? And you know, I told him it would only be for 1 year, and how many of you want to take a guess to see how long I actually stayed in the hotel business? 20 years, right? So 20 years later, I was still in the hotel business. And I progressed very quickly. I was the youngest director of sales for Starwood Hotels. I was the youngest director of marketing for Ritz-Carlton Hotels, and I had a great run. About 5 years ago, I had an early midlife crisis, and I decided that I wanted to do something else. I wanted to work for myself and apply some of the things that I've learned in the 20 years of working for the best hotel companies in the world. And what really did it for me was a book that I read. And here's a picture of the book. It's called The E-Myth. How many of you have read the book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber? By show of hands. Okay, two people. It is a must-read. If you're an entrepreneur, if you own your own business, if you run a business, if you want to be in business one day, it's a great read. Right? So Michael Gerber talks about being a business coach. And when I first read that book in 2010, 11, I didn't even know what a business coach was. You know, I thought, man, that's cool. So he goes around in his community and he helps small and medium-sized businesses with the things that they're not good at, right? Because what happens is a lot of people get into business and they're a good chef. They open up a business and they fail. Because running a business doesn't care how good you cook. A business only cares how good you are at running a business, right? So people are typically really good at what they do, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're good at running a business. And so when I read about Michael Gerber doing this, I thought, man, that's great. You know, in my next life, I want to be a business coach. Well, it's interesting how things work. About 1.5 years later, I was on an airplane coming back from New York on a business trip, and I picked up a magazine, and it was top 100 franchises in the US. And number 24 on the list was this thing called Action Coach. And it said world's leading business coaching firm. And I thought, business coaching, that's what Michael Gerber does. So I circled it on the plane. When I got home, I kissed my wife, hello, gave the scratch to the dog. I sat down, I went right to the computer, and I started researching what this Action Coach was. And it said world's leading business coaching firm. And I thought, man, that's cool. I didn't know they had franchises for that. And within a week, I told my wife, this is what I want to do. I made a decision. And my wife, she got used to nice lifestyle, nice salary, staying at Ritz-Carlton hotels all the time. She said, yeah, you're jet lagged. You'll be fine, you know. And about 4 months later, I had retired from my executive position with Ritz-Carlton Hotels, and I made the leap. And about 2 months after that, I got involved with Action Coach, and it was the best decision I ever made. All right, so a little bit about Action Coach. We have been ranked as the #1 coaching company in the world for many, many years now. We have over 1,000 offices. I think this says 46 countries, but we're actually in 53 countries now. We're in Vietnam, we're in Indonesia, we're in Australia, we're in New Zealand, we're in India. We are all over the world. And what we do is, our vision and mission statement is world abundance through business re-education. Right? And if you notice, the key word on there is re-education, because we believe that the #1 reason businesses fail is not really lack of capital, it's lack of education. It's not knowing how to run a business properly. And so what we are, ultimately what I consider myself, is an educator. All right, so here's what we do in a nutshell. We work with businesses. Now we've expanded. We started with small companies. We actually coach Fortune 100 companies. I actually just did a training for Napa Auto Parts, where I trained 40 of their district managers. So we coach publicly traded companies, as big as that, billion-dollar companies. We coach small mom and pop companies. So it doesn't matter big or small. Nowadays, coaching is the #1 industry right now, because people realize that coaching and consulting, but coaching really is the #1 way that people learn now. It's a longer term method than the typical model of consulting. So what we do is we help companies with profitability, employee engagement, strategic planning, and marketing and sales. So basically any of the big 4 areas on how to run a business, we have different size programs, and we customize depending on what the company needs. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about, and my first advice to you, and I had to learn this very quickly, is know your why. How many of you have read a book by Simon Sinek called Know Your Why, or Start With Why? It's a great book. He did a great TED Talk. So by the way, if you like TED Talks, go on YouTube. You'll find a great talk by Simon Sinek, and it's called Start With Why. Knowing what your why is going to get you through the hump. Because here's what happens. For those of you, by the way, if you work for yourself, if you own a company, can you raise your hand, please, just so I know? So you guys are self-employed, work for yourself. It's tough, isn't it? It's tough. It's a roller coaster. It's up and down, right? There are times where it's tough to get out of bed, just like when you used to work for somebody else, It's the same thing. But when you know your why, when you're clear about why you're doing what you do, it helps you get up and go. It helps you move. See, when I worked for big, fancy companies, it was great, but there wasn't a why there. The why was the paycheck. The why was the perks. There was nothing personal to it. Now, what I do, it's completely different, because my why is about the people that I serve. Right? The why is, I jumped out of bed this morning because I knew I was going to see your faces here in the audience. This is what I live for. This is what I enjoy. So here are some statistics about why it's so important about education through the business community. So most small businesses, they actually represent 99% of all the businesses out there. Right? We think that the majority of businesses are all the Walmarts and Googles and Apples. They're not. 99% of all US companies are small companies that are owned by 1 to 3 people. All right? So if they go away, our economy is in serious, serious trouble. 70% are owned by a single person. They employ 57% of the workforce. 50% of startups only survive 5 years, right? And after the 5 years, they hit a plateau, and they don't grow beyond that. So it's very critical that we continue that momentum with the companies. 70% of all jobs come from small businesses, so it's important. The way I look at it is, every time I drive by, like, there's a Sports Authority by my house. What's all Sports Authority saying right now? Going out of business. Yeah. Isn't that incredible? 130 locations. They've been around for a long time. Going out of business.
They were my client.
They were your client. Yeah.
Oh, no.
So
it was a long time ago.
I mean, you look at the sports authorities. So 10 years from now, when you say to somebody Sports Authority, they're gonna go, what? Right? Ask a millennial if they ever went to Blockbuster. They're gonna go, where? What? Right? Companies come and go.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
Service merchandise.
Service merchandise. Absolutely. And then here's a startling one: is a small business goes bankrupt every 8 to 10 minutes here in the United States. So when I see a business and a sign that says going out of business, you know who I blame? I blame myself for not being able to get to that owner to say, why couldn't I help that business? Because how many people are going to become unemployed now because we, and I know that there's a lot of consultants in the room, it's our responsibility. You know, if we're here to help small businesses, we should take that personal when we see a business close down. Why couldn't we get to them? Why didn't we get there fast enough, right? So I look at it like it's our responsibility to help those that have it. So here's another why. Here's my family, and I know it's kind of hard to see with the image, but my family, my daughters, the dog. Here's the dog that I scratched that I talk about, right, Bailey? So it's important. Be clear about your why. Why do you do what you do? Here's another great thing is I became involved with an organization called Buy One, Give One, B1G1. And for those of you that own a business, please look that up, b1g1.com. It's a global organization where small business owners like we are, where we can contribute back to any cause. And they have like 1,000 different causes all around the world, right? So if you want to buy food for a village, you can do that. If you want to buy somebody water around the world, you can. And there are things from like 10 cents to $10,000. So you don't need a whole lot of money to give back. And that's one of the great things that I love is being able to give back. And so what I picked is when I went on the website and I got affiliated with them, I said, you know, so many cool things. How do I want to help people? And so I wanted to do something business related. And so one of the options that they give you is that guy right there. See that goat? So what I do is anytime a new client signs on board with me, I purchase a goat for a family in Kenya. And you know how much it cost me? $35. So for $35, I can buy a goat. They deliver the goat for the family in Kenya. And that, to a poor family in Kenya, changes their world. Okay? Because from that one goat, they can pull milk, they can make cheese, they can breed it, they can ultimately eat it. They can sustain a whole family with that one goat, right? So when we're thinking about our why, you know, we can't wait for the day that we're in a certain place to start giving. We're already in a position to give. We're already in a position to do something better, right? So the world is waiting. We just need to take action and do something about it and start giving back, right? So that's my little friendly guy. And what I do is I give my clients a diploma, a little certificate. And they don't even know. I don't tell them that they're going to get this, but I said, hey, listen, by the way, one of the perks of you coming on board is not only I'm going to help you grow your business, but you've already helped another small business around the world succeed. And I give them this little certificate, and they're usually blown away, right? So it doesn't take a whole lot to make a difference in other people. All right, so my purpose today as your coach is to reward your investment of time for being here. We're going to talk about creating an amazing team, identifying potential obstacles in a business, and taking action. No failure today. Today is a workshop. So what's the difference between a workshop and a seminar? Who knows?
Hands-on.
Hands-on. In a workshop, you actually do some work, right? So that's why I gave you the handouts. I want you to, like, you know, put some. Does anybody need a pen, by the way?
I need.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, 2 pens. Also, if you can pass that pen to that young man in the back. Fantastic.
Do you have more handouts?
There's a handout right here. All right. Handouts. Are there any extra handouts?
Here you go. Go back.
Here's one. The gentleman that walked in, he might need one. Okay, there's one over here. All right. So no failure today, guys. The only failure is the lack of participation. So get involved, participate, and you will learn more. So what I want you paying attention for today is something that we call BFOs. So we're a global organization. We've been around for over 20 years. We've developed like funny little words. And one of the words that we have is this thing called BFOs, and it stands for blinding flashes of the obvious. It's like aha moment. So if you have an aha moment, if you capture a BFO, write it down. Write it down, circle it, put some stars by it, because those are the things that I'm going to want you to take action on. So the first thing is to get rid of the 2 deadliest, most expensive words in any language, and that's everybody.
I know.
Come on, with a little passion. What is it?
I know.
So why? So Irma, why is it bad to walk around thinking, "Hey, I know everything"?
Because then you're not open to learning.
Absolutely. Because does anybody really know everything?
No.
No one knows everything. What happens is if you walk around thinking, I know, right, you're actually closed off.
Don't tell my husband though. 'Cause I'm
This is great for kids and
Convinced him
teenagers,
that
right?
I know
I have a 7-year-old daughter, and this is like comes out of her mouth like 10 times a day, right? So I'm challenging you today to eliminate these words from your mind and wipe them out. There's probably been some of you already who thought, I know what this guy's gonna say. I know what he's gonna say. Why am I here? I could have been, doing something, right? So eliminate that, right? Bad. This is like a disease to walk around with this in your head. Get rid of it. So if you must say something, what you can say instead is, isn't that interesting? Right? It's a little funny thing that we say. All right, so, and then the last thing is, you gotta be willing to have some fun. So just because we talk about business, I know that we got a bunch of consultants in here, and people say that we're boring, coaches, consultants. We're not, so we gotta have fun. Our company works really hard to make things fun. So you're gonna see a lot of bright colors. I told a business owner not too long ago, he was beat up. He was kind of walking like this, and he was just beat up. And I said, it doesn't look like you're having any fun in your business. Above and all the problems that you're not having any fun, aren't you? He looked at me really angry. He wanted to kill me. He said, business isn't fun. And I said, I'm sorry you feel that way. And you know what's interesting? 4 months later, he went to one of my events. We have an event that we do with all our clients. We do it once every 90 days. We get 40 clients together. It's called Growth Club. It's actually coming up this Friday. He went to Growth Club 90 days ago. When I came out, his name is Ron. I said, Ron, how was it? He says, it was actually fun. And I was like, did anybody record that? Did anybody get that, right? And that was one of the things, because if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying something that you're doing, are you going to be good at it? No. You got to change your mindset above all else, right? So here's the question is, do I have your permission to be your coach for the next 90 minutes? Say yes?
Yes.
Fantastic. That's good because I don't have a slide in case you said no. Right? So I'm glad you said yes. All right. Is it also okay if I give you a little bit of a sneak peek into something that I'm working on?
Yes.
So I got a book deal earlier this year, which I'm very excited about. I've been thinking about it forever, working on it for 3 years. I said, wait a minute, I'm a business coach. I believe in coaching. Why don't I have a book coach? And in January, I went out and I got myself a book coach, okay? And I've done more in my book in the last 6 months than I did in the past 2 years with the help of sorry, I have to stay still. With the help of a coach. So would it be okay if I share some of the things that I'm going to be talking about in my book with you today? Would that be all right?
Of course.
Fantastic. All right. So to make sure that you get this information, because if you walk out of here and you have no idea what I just spent 90 minutes talking about, I failed miserably, right? I want to make sure that you get this. I want to make sure that not only do you get it, but that you apply it and that it creates a difference and a change for you. So one of the things that I'm going to offer for those of you that want to take me up on it is I'm going to give you 90 minutes of my time, one-on-one, either phone or in person, anytime between now and the next 3 to 4 weeks, and we can schedule some time to talk about how what you learned today can be applied in your business. Okay, so I'm throwing that out there. There's a way for you to sign up. If you're interested, you can sign up at the end. So look at this like a 3-part process. So part 1 is today's workshop. Okay, so you're going to learn a bunch of stuff on 2 areas that I'm going to teach about. Then we're going to have our one-to-one. And then the third part is we're going to invite you back and we're going to teach part 2. So today is really part 1 of a 2-part series. And part 2 we decided is when, Cecilia?
August 17th.
August 17th. So if you want to make a quick note somewhere, August 17th we're going to be getting together back here again for part 2 of the workshop. All right, so take notes throughout today. And without further ado, we're going to get started with 6 keys to a winning team. All right, so the first thing that we want to talk about is why are team members important, right? Team members are important because if you want to grow your business, you can only get so big without having any help, by being yourself, right? There's only so many hours in the day. There's only so many things that you, one person alone, can do. And so what you really want to think about is how can I leverage people? And so you need team. And if you're managing and leveraging people the right way, the way that you're going to use them really is that the owner or the leader in the organization, they take care of the team. The team are the ones that take care of the customers. The customers take care of the business through the payments, through the investments that they make. And then the business takes care of the owner through the profits that come from the business, right? But in small businesses, what do we see happening? It looks like a bunch of arrows going everywhere, like the owner's doing everything. And so really, this is the structure that you want to get into. This is the structure that's going to allow your business to grow. And so success in business, and there's been 1,000 books written, maybe more, on success of business and what it is. there's really kind of 4 key areas. If you wanted to kind of dumb it down and put it into 4 areas,